Esther from Yerushalayim.
I would like to share the story of how the Holocaust has been, even though I was born way later, has been a very important part of my life, always. And share the story of the Bacchus family and my grandmother's family, and how we got here to Jerusalem, and I'll try to do it short. So my grandmother, her name was Julie. She was born in Holland, Polish and Ukrainian origin. She was from a family that was very connected to Judaism, and she had a dream to move to Palestine. This is in the 20s and the early 30s. Her parents, they were against this idea. They said that Palestine, as it was called at the time, Israel is dangerous, and they didn't allow her to move here. So she decided to go and work in a facility in Holland for people with special needs and mental disabilities. And because she was there, by the time Holland was invaded, they were taken first because they were also Jewish and they were also disabled. So because the Nazis were still less organized in the beginning, she managed to escape. She actually managed to escape twice. One time she ran away from the train, and then she got caught again, and she went to the bathroom and climbed out of the window of the bathroom and ran. And that's how she got to the forest and was found by the partisans. They took her in and she spent some time with them and even fought with them. But it became too dangerous, and she found out that her whole family was taken away. Her brother never made it beyond the train ride. And her parents, they arrived in Auschwitz on the 5th of October, 1942, and were executed on the 8th of October, which, thanks God, means that they were saved the suffering of being there in Auschwitz. So she was taken to a family, which is the Bacchus family, a Dutch Christian family that had a farm. And they took her in, she painted her hair blonde, and she worked there as a farm maid for a while until it became too dangerous, and she spent the next year and a half under the floor with two more people. This family, they really endangered themselves, as many people did that hid people in their homes for a year and a half in order to save my grandmother. And I'm eternally grateful for them for doing this. When she came out, she found out that her parents were gone, her brother was gone, her whole family was gone, the people she worked with, everybody was gone, and she was very upset, very angry, and she felt a lot of injustice. She spoke a lot about that. And even though she was saved, she felt a big need. She felt a big need to be helpful, and she actually turned towards the Roma people, which were mentioned before in the same meeting, and spent the rest of her life helping the gypsies, the Roma people who had also suffered greatly at the hands of the Nazis. She never really managed to reconnect with her Jewish identity until the very, very end. Though her husband, my grandfather, who was a Christian man, did a giyur, and he started to take upon himself the Jewish tradition, so they kind of switched. And over the years, our families were in close contact with the Bacchus family. They actually had a son, which was the man we wanted to invite, who was born on my grandmother's birthday. My mother spent almost 40 years working with people who were Holocaust survivors in Holland. First the first generation, and then the second generation, and in the end even the third generation of people who had gone through such tremendous trauma. And as a social worker, she worked with them. I was lucky to work with them myself for many years as I grew up. And then at one day, after my 18th birthday, my grandmother's dream of moving to Palestine, Israel, came to me, and I started dreaming that I live in Jerusalem. And after the dream came back a few times, and I had no reason to have it. I was not raised in a traditional way. I was not Zionist. All of my Jewish identity was based on the Holocaust, basically. So I decided to listen. I made Aliyah right after my 19th birthday. And ever since then, I am here. And the thing is that since then, a lot of things happened. My grandmother passed away. She got to meet my eldest daughter, who is sitting here. Her name is Maya. Maya is a special child, like the children that my grandmother used to live with. The children that were the first to go, that were also Jewish and also useless in the eyes of the Nazis. She's one of the most amazing people I know. And the last gift that my grandmother gave her was on her deathbed, because the day that my grandmother died was the same day, the same 2-3 days that my grandmother was on her dying bed. Thank God, after a long life, was the same day that my daughter had heart failure and almost died. And the doctor said that she has only maybe 3 more months to live. And this girl, who doesn't talk and wasn't able to walk, stood up in her bed and laughed at the doctors. And my grandmother, that day, she passed away. And Maya got new spirit. I know it's my grandmother's gift of life to her. And
Beautiful story.
she's now 16 years old. And she's an amazing person, which is a completely different story, but she's an amazing person, and she got this gift of life from my grandmother. And so we live now in Jerusalem. Right outside of our window is Yad Vashem, the Holocaust Memorial. We see it every day. The son of the family that saved my grandmother was here, and we visited Yad Vashem with him. I've been there many times. This was the first time I was there with someone who felt pride and joy walking around in Yad Vashem, which was a very strange experience for me. But then I realized that he was so grateful that he had the opportunity with his family to help my grandmother and the other 2 people that they saved. And I found great value in that, into the joy in giving, in the joy of helping out. And I bless us all to strive to be there for others and have this experience of this deep, deep joy of being there for someone in their darkest hour. So I just want to light this candle for my grandmother and for her parents, Chana and Moshe, and her brother, and the Bacchus family, and the gift of life that they have all given us, and the interconnectedness that we all have. And I bless us all to be very grateful, and thank you.
Thank you so much, Esther, for sharing. God bless.
Beautiful.